Hi there. Do you see the kids behind me here? What if one of them were your child and they played soccer for about 3 months and they wanted to quit? Would you let them quit, or would your instinct as a parent be to talk about dedication? Today, we're not actually only talking about soccer. We're talking about any activity that your child can do. But what is really strange is that your language learning child who quits activities is actually doing something brilliant for their own brain development. Does that sound weird? It'll soon make sense, so stay with me here.
I did Thai boxing for 4 months, dancing 2 months, and gymnastics 1 month. I'm getting better at quitting.
Today, we're going to talk about why it's actually good that your kid quits activities. We'll also find out what the perfect time interval is before they should move on to something new versus pushing through challenges with the activity that they already do. The secret lies in this graph here, but I will come back to that later. My name is Bill. I taught children languages for over a decade, and my daughter here, Selena, is trilingual, now learning her 4th language, which is Spanish. Recently, I noticed that Selena started and quit activities very often. This concerned me because I was afraid she would eventually just quit on our multilingual family. What if she lost interest in her languages as well? Are you ready for Thai boxing in 20 minutes?
This is what I think about your Thai boxing class.
So you wanna quit? This is actually not what really happened, but I have to admit I was particularly stubborn when it came to Thai boxing. Selena would often be a bit sad before practice, but I kept pushing her, telling her we don't quit and dedication is important. I genuinely believed I was doing the right thing. Later, though, I started wondering if other language learning kids showed the same pattern, and that's when I remembered something from when I was teaching. Back then, I had a Chinese student for several years, and during one assessment session, his mother asked me if I knew why he started and quit new activities so often. She was concerned just like I was with Selena. I talked to him about it, did some research, and that's when I discovered the link. And I'd forgotten this important lesson, but suddenly it came back to me. But this was something that completely changed my perspective on those times I pressured Selena to continue Thai boxing when she clearly wasn't enjoying it. What scientists have found is that the brain of a young learner is wired a little differently. The same brain flexibility that helps them switch between languages also makes them crave diverse experiences. Having said that, the same principles do apply for non-language learning children as well, although the effect might not be as strong. When your child wants to quit piano and try swimming, they're not necessarily being scattered. They are following an instinct that actually builds stronger neural networks in the brain.
So all the time I was sad about Thai boxing, my brain was actually telling me it was time for something new.
There's also a specific time frame where activities give maximum brain benefit before the improvement drops off dramatically. And understanding this timeline can help you support your child's development instead of fighting against it like I ended up doing with Selena and her Thai boxing. By the end of this video, you will know exactly when to encourage your child to try something new and when to help them push through challenges. We all want our kids to be dedicated, right? To stick with things. But what if that very desire is actually slowing down their brain development? Sounds crazy, I know. I promise not to bore you to death with the science behind all this, but there are some things that needs to be explained. I think the science behind it is fascinating, and it will completely change how you view your child's activities. Maybe you are in my position even. Seeing your child hop from one activity to the next. My daughter Selena was quitting almost every other month or so. And honestly, a part of me was worried. Was she losing interest in everything? Even her languages? But then I dove into the neuroscience, and what I discovered was a complete game changer. It turns out that this activity switching isn't a flaw. It's a brilliant brain strategy. Here's what most parents don't realize. The fact that language learning kids want to try so many different activities isn't a coincidence. When your child learns multiple languages, their brain develops in a way that makes it crave diverse experiences. When the brain forms new neural connections and reorganizes itself, it's like it gets used to it. Think about what happens when your child switches between languages. One moment, they're thinking in English, the next in Spanish, then maybe Norwegian or Swahili for all I know. Their brain is constantly adapting, making new connections and strengthening different neural pathways. This same process is what drives them to want to try Thai boxing, then dance, then gymnastics. Now here's the real kicker, and this is where most parents get it not only wrong, I believe there's an expression for that, ass backwards. We're taught that perseverance means pushing through endless hours on one thing. But for a developing brain, especially one wired for multiple languages, staying on one path for too long can actually limit the number of types of connections it makes.
So when I switch activities, I'm like collecting superpowers for my brain.
So we've seen how your child's brain, especially if they're learning languages, is literally designed to thrive on trying out lots of different things. But don't you find it a little bit strange? Most of us grew up thinking the exact opposite, right? That to be good at something, you had to pick one thing and stick with it forever. Focus, commitment, mastery, all that stuff. Well, get ready for something that might just blow your mind, because the research tells a completely different, almost shocking story about why diverse activities don't just help, they actually beat early specialization when it comes to brain development. Studies comparing kids who jump between activities versus those who specialized early found something truly surprising. The kids who tried many different things, they didn't just have more fun. They developed superior cognitive abilities, way better problem-solving skills, and even more creativity. It's like their brain had a wider toolkit to work with. Think about Selena here.
Like how Thai boxing taught me to think fast and dancing taught me rhythm for languages?
For Selena, each activity was building different neural pathways that connected to everything else that she was learning. And it's not just my observation. A major study followed kids from the age of 6 to 13. What they found was undeniable. Children who played many different sports at 6 years old showed better motor skills, like the ability to move, and even higher cognitive skills years later, compared to kids who specialized early. So this isn't just about sports, by the way. It's about how the brain builds its fundamental problem-solving architecture, if you will, through varied experiences.
I noticed that my friends who only do one sport sometimes seem stuck. like they can only think about problems one way.
That is true. We often assume that to become elite, you have to specialize early. But even with something like professional athletes, the research flips that idea on its head. Did you know that 83% of college athletes didn't specialize in their sport during childhood? They tried multiple activities. This is the blueprint for a more resilient, adaptable, and a more capable brain that's ready for anything. So, if diverse activities are better, when should your child move on to something new? This is where the research gets really specific. Most acquiring of skills follow what scientists call an S-shaped learning curve. At this first phase, the progress is slow as your child figures out the basics. Then there's a burst of rapid improvement. Finally, the curve flattens out. This is the plateau phase, where continued practice isn't going to improve things a lot. For children, this plateau typically happens around 50 hours of practice. If your kid does an activity twice a week for an hour each time, that's about 3 to 4 months, roughly speaking.
Wait, so my 4, 2, and 1 month thing was actually perfect timing?
So if diverse activities are indeed better, the million-dollar question becomes, when should your kid move on to something new? How do you know they're changing activities for the better and not just, giving up when things get tough? The good news is science has a clear answer, and it all comes down to understanding the 3 phases of learning any new skill. We have the cognitive phase. This is where their brain is processing a ton of new information. And I'm just quickly going through here. It's a bit oversimplified. Next is the associative phase. Here they are connecting the dots and getting better. And then finally, it's the autonomous phase. This is when the skill becomes almost automatic. And here's the crucial insight. The biggest brain benefits and most rapid learning happen primarily during those first 2 phases. Once the skill becomes automatic, the learning and the growth in the brain slows down dramatically. That's when it's time to try something new. So how do you tell if it's an optimal switch versus just giving up? If your child is still excited about those small daily improvements, if they're grappling with challenges but still engaged, keep going. They're in the rich learning zone. But if you see them bored, just going through the motions, uninspired by repetition, or if they have already mastered the basics and their progress is plateaued, that's the signal. That's when their brain is ready for its next adventure.
Put my heart on the line, begging you to be mine. You can't be left alone in despair forever. We're so much better together.
We know that genetic diversity is powerful, right? And I'm not off topic here, just give me a second and I'll connect it. A mix of different genes makes for stronger, healthier kids. Way better than if both parents have the exact same flaws. I mean, isn't that correct? But what if this deep truth about strength through diversity also applies to how your child's brain learns and thrives in language learning? The link is actually quite amazing. You see, when your child is always jumping between languages, their brain is getting a real workout. It's building skills like being super flexible in their thinking, spotting patterns, and being really good at managing their thoughts. Now, when you throw in lots of different activities like sports, music, or art, they're not just getting better at those things, they're actually building even more connections in the brain. It's like their language learning and their activities are constantly talking to each other, making their brain even stronger, just like diverse genes make a healthier body. Okay, enough science talk. Let's make this practical by looking at Selena. So Thai boxing made her brain quick.
I'm gonna show you how I went from this
for decisions. That's a huge help when you're trying to have a real-time conversation.
to this.
Treat me like a neighbor. Don't need the different flavors of your problems just to savor.
Her dance practice helped her get rhythm and pick up patterns.
Back and then switch.
Super important for those sounds and to get a flow in the sentences in a language. And gymnastics taught her how to think about space and push through challenges. That actually helps when you're trying to understand trickier grammar or figuring out tough language problems. And this isn't just me ranting here. I am ranting, but it's actually science. Scientific studies constantly show that kids who do lots of different physical activities usually do better at language learning. Isn't that strange? They remember more and they're better at controlling their thoughts. These are all super important skills for kids learning multiple languages. It's the proof that all this variety really works. So next time your child wants to try something new or even stops an activity after a few months, don't automatically assume they're not dedicated. They just might be using a smart learning strategy that their unique brain, especially a multilingual one, just knows is the best.
Maybe parents should start calling us strategic quitters instead of just quitters.
Looking back, I can see I was totally fighting against Selena's natural way of learning. Not good. My old idea of sticking with it was actually stopping her from getting all those cool, diverse experiences that her multilingual brain needed. It has been tough to admit I was wrong, but seeing how happy and engaged Selena is now, and how much it helps her languages, I have to say that it has been so incredibly rewarding. Concerned family members might not understand this approach at first. So this is why I created 2 resources to help, sort of like scripts you can use to explain the brain science to skeptical relatives, and a fact sheet with all the surprising research findings we covered today. This you can download from the description. Bye for now.
Raised in Thailand. Here's a YouTube channel for parents with language learning children. If you wanna learn more, subscribe to Raised in Thailand. The channel that you love is Raised in Thailand. It's getting dark.